Hi, good evening. How's it going? Today I'm gonna talk about my journey of the understanding of the Brazilian rhythms. I had a lot of difficulties in the comprehension of them, and I encourage my students to research the rhythms and try to understand them. So in this live I'm gonna talk some details that I've learned during my story with the rhythm that can be helpful in your process of learning what I did that works and what I did that doesn't work and whatever. I'm gonna talk about rhythm. For that I'm gonna count some story that some of you already know, but in another point of view. I'm gonna start in my when I was 19 or 20 years old, when I've heard Marisa Monte CD, that is a singer. She had an album called Memórias Crônicas e Declarações de Amor. It's Marisa Monte is a singer that belongs to the MPB, the Música Popular Brasileira, Popular Brazilian Music, and she mixtures some Brazilian styles as samba, bossa nova, some Afro styles and pop music. The MPB of the 90s. It's related with pop music also. And I had one. I thought that CD album was very interesting. It was very, for me. I was so curious to understand how it was made, why the instrumentists played one note and another, and I didn't have access to this information. I didn't know how a music producer thought to do that album. It's so far from my reality, and the only thing I had to that was possible to me was reading the paper of the album, in the front of the album, and trying to extract some information of that. That was the name of the musicians, that was the name of the producers, but there were also chords written this in Marisa's Monte albums. It's common to have the chords inside the cover, and you can learn to comp yourself to sing together and or play together. And this was the only information I had, so I've tried to search in the internet, but it was very simple, the website, and I went to this show when it arrives here in my city of São Paulo. I went, I think, 5 times to this show. It was a show that I watched a lot, and I was very interested in why that things worked like that. And this show was very interesting because it has I think it was 11 or 10 musicians, and they had 3 percussionists, and they played something very interesting. There was one percussion that it was played with the stick under the arm. There were 2 big percussions at the right and the left of the stage that were played with sticks also, and they had a very Afro feel, and I was so interested to understand how where did that ideas came from. It was so far from reality, and I was curious about that. I've talked in my other life that I've searched for some names that were on the cover of the CD, and I discovered names like Romero Lubambo, João Donato, and what else? I remind the name of the keyboardist is that Mark Batson, and I also searched for the musicians of the show that has a cavaquinho player, Mauro Diniz, the keyboardist Carlos Trilha, and when I found some interview about these people, that they were the only information that I found talking about that. And I've heard also in this time that there was a musician that played the Brazilian rhythms at the piano, and I started to be very interested in that, in searching for some books talking about that, and there was nothing. So I started to search for books of other instruments, like the guitar. In Brazil, we have some literature about the acoustic guitar. It's a very explored instrument in Brazil, and the acoustic guitar is the identity of some styles like choro or samba or even bossa nova, and there were some methods, and I started to think the rhythms, transfer the rhythms to piano, to take this rhythmic language in Brazilian music. Sometimes I also bought some percussion or drums book, and I tried to transfer. And I've done a lot of work researching this, and there was one time that I got the proficiency to do this, so I picked some style, some rhythm in some book, and I tried to create some left hand, and I create grooves to make the comping of the songs. This was my first perception of rhythm at the piano, and after some time, some years after I started to recognize the styles, the different styles, and I started to understand what was happening in that album. That musicians behaved themselves at the playing on the album in that way because they were having ideas some inside the styles. For example, there is a track called Para Ver as Meninas. It's a samba, and there are a lot of characteristics of samba, and they put some effects, some digital effects together to make it sound modern, but the language of the instruments, of the harmony, of the comping, of the percussion was of sambas. So I started to understand that, and this opened my mind a lot, and I discovered a new world of styles of behaving ourselves, and I started to explore the grooves, the different grooves. I thought that to explore Brazilian music was exploring the grooves, understanding them, and I create some exercise of independence of hands, and I played for many years of that manner till I had the access with the great musicians. I knew, for example, Cristóvão Bastos, that is a pianist from Rio de Janeiro, that played with a lot of Brazilian artists like Gal Costa, like Paulinho da Viola, and the Família Caymmi. A lot of important Chico Buarque, also his partner in a composition with this Chico, in two interesting compositions with Chico Buarque, his partner of Aldir Blanc, and he talked to me about some language that I was missing. I don't know exactly how he talked about that when I improvised, I didn't play rests. I didn't. It was better to play rests, and I didn't know what to do to get this better. Okay, I tried to do more rests. I was aware of this, but there was missing more things, and this happened when I traveled to a workshop in the countryside of São Paulo, and I've heard for the first time by the pianist André Marques about the melodic rhythm, and this is so interesting to me because I thought to change styles was just to change the groove, or the left hand in the case of the piano. And André Marques showed me, show us in the workshop a way of thinking the different elements to create one style. And this was the first time that I discovered that one different styles has different languages, rhythmic language, harmonic language, melodic language, and sometimes part of the melodic language is the rhythm, and sometimes other part of the melodic language are on the notes, and to form the sound of style, I had to study this. And during this process of discovering more of the styles, my understanding went deeper, and I discovered some other challenges. I was encouraged to transcribe some rhythms to understand them, and all the time that I was trying to transcribe some rhythm, I was having problems. I remember also the first problem I had with rhythm, that I was not aware. Some of you in the start or in the beginning of the study of popular music, of Brazilian popular music, can have this problem. And it's interesting because there was one very simple rhythm in Marisa Osmonte's recording that I transcribed, but it didn't seem like the transcription was correct. Wait a moment. I wrote the rhythm it was right, but it sounded, when I played what I wrote, it didn't sound right. And this was a problem because of the accent on the rhythm that I didn't recognize. So it was the rhythm was 1, 2, 3, 4. And I wrote, there was just 8 notes. When I played what I wrote, ta 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 ta. And why did it sound different? It was because the accentuation. This was the, if you don't know, the 3-3-2 accentuation, where we have equal notes with the same duration, but they have accent in the first of 3, the first of 3, and the first of 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Ta 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 ta. This is equal. Ta 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 ta. And accentuation was very important to make this rhythm sound right. And this can change a lot of a pronounce of something you read. And many people don't know this. They play just the right notes in the right tempo, but accentuation, it's in some styles they can sound very wrong when it's made in the wrong way. This was the first problem, and there were rhythms that I couldn't write also, because they sound in very strange measures, very strange measures. And many time after, I discovered that some rhythms doesn't start their pattern on the first beat of the measure. And I'm not talking about a pickup bar. I'm talking about a rhythm that has some beat, some sound in the first tempo, but when they start the pattern, they don't start by the first tempo. For example, forró is often played starting with the last. Forró could be a pickup bar, but it's the last 16th notes of the previous measure. So it's the pattern is this: tom 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 to tom 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 to tom 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 to tom tom. But we don't start like that. We start as to tom tom to tom tom to tom. We start in the last 16 notes. So when you hear for the first time, you get confused because you don't know exactly where is the head of the measure. This happens also in capoeira. If we would start with the pattern, it would be dom jin dom jin dom jin, but it starts without the one. Dom jin dom jin dom jin. It starts in a different place. So in many situations, when you of Afro rhythms, when you search for the first measure of the music, sometimes put you, is gonna give difficulties to you. You're gonna you won't find where it starts. So it's interesting, for example, when you are searching for some rhythm, to search in the middle of the song, and after that you go to the first measure to understand what's happening. This is a non-intuitive thing that broke my mind. I wasn't capable of understanding that. I've also searched in my life. I've searched for a lot of Brazilian music books to understand, to see people, what was the thought behind some different cultural, don't know if this is the word, manifestation. And sometimes I found rhythmic patterns, but when I was going to hear some recording, it was very different. And there are many reasons. One of that is that there are some styles that has the same name in different places of Brazil, but they are very different. And sometimes they have the whole name. I'm not reminding some example, but it's not as difficult to find. And we have some variations. For example, we have the maracatu rural. That is very different in terms of pattern of the maracatu do baque virado. But sometimes the name is the same, and the name toada, por exemplo. For example, I spoke in Portuguese. Toada is a rhythm that has different, it's very different in different places of Brazil, but it has the same name. That is not a only pattern to toada. There are lots and lots of different patterns that the word is used to refer itself in different styles. This is a reason of the equal names of different rhythms in different places. But there are others. For example, before starting some pattern, it can have a call-in, some instrument solo. For example, in Carnaval, you have the tamborim making a kind of introduction, or some in some escolas de samba, they have many instruments making a call-in before starting the pattern. And I was always searching for the pattern at the beginning. That was also a mistake that couldn't make me understand. There are also conventions. I was watching some class of a Brazilian music course that was made by a great musician, but he was not a teacher. He started to be a teacher in this moment, and he talked about some style, and let me show now. And I was watching and trying to read with my lead sheet of percussion, and everything was wrong. There was nothing to what was written. And starting to think more time, I discovered that he was playing just the conventions. The conventions are some prepared patterns that in that style the or like na escala de samba, the maestro, there is some conduction. It's not formal, but it's a kind of conduction. He can play the convention where he wants. He makes some hand signs, and people will understand like a sign to do some pattern or another. And sometimes, if you are searching for some style, the conventions will mess your mind up. And what is interesting of the conventions? The conventions can be interesting material to do the feels of some style. For example, in frevo you have so this upbeat convention, it's part of the language of the frevo. And in many rhythmic styles you have interesting conventions that you can learn to improve your language, improve your accent of that style. There are some breaks also that happens that can create that environment, that rhythmic environment that is different from the pattern, that they are interesting to know. There are in the music of candomblé, the religious Brazilian music, there are some outros or codas, and they have patterns to end. So, if you are trying to search for a rhythm, be aware that you have to search for these elements. They can happen, and also you can find also variations. Sometimes the pattern doesn't repeat itself because the musicians has some freedom during them. So you try to search what the instruments that repeat more itself than themselves. All right. So this, if you don't know this basis, it's very difficult to understand rhythm because it's not a pattern. When you buy a book of percussion, you're often gonna find pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and when you see a great drummer playing, you're gonna wow, what's he doing? I don't understand nothing what's he doing. And when the drums are based on the percussion of the traditional Brazilian styles, you have to remind all these details. All right, some styles has a preparation that can be a intro or a call-in, like I said. They have a coda or outro. They can have some breaks. They can have some variations, and so you find a pattern. And in some patterns, for example, in the music of candomblé, you have the drums, 2 drums that make a pattern and water that is more free to improvise. So I'm doing this live to say about my experience trying to understand the rhythm, and I didn't know these concepts, and there was always some point that I wasn't capable of continuing the process because it didn't match. Sometimes a pattern that I read, it didn't match with the recording, or sometimes I wrote but I was not satisfied because when I hear the song, it's not that. This day I was talking with a friend about the Brazilian rhythms, and he told me that one of the first researchers of Brazilian music tried to transcribe the music of candomblé, and he didn't know these concepts, and all of his measures were very strange, because Sometimes they had some measure like 4/4 or 12/80, and he transcribed 1/7/4 at the beginning, 1/3/4 at the end, at the middle. Some things uh, to to represent what was happening. But if he understood this process, it would be he could write an introduction, calling, convention, and it would be much easier to understand, and everybody to reproduce this. So I'm talking about all of this because this made my process get a longer time to me to understand. But I think with this experience today I can help you in this process. And another thing that I would like to talk with you, it was this experience that started with one album and all others, and the understanding of the rhythm that was slowly a slow process, and they understand that the style just is not just the rhythm, because I transferred a lot of songs that I played with different compings, and then didn't sound inside the language. And that's I was discovering about the melodic language, the harmonic language. All of this contribute to create some style. And so today my vision is divided into these different languages of, like I said, harmony, melody, and all this stuff. And the rhythmic part has this. We can divide also the rhythmic part in high and low, or in middle also. But don't forget that you can find these variations, intros, endings, fillings, callings. Some styles has some solo instrument that starts to play. Some will play some clave, and when you know all of this, you can recognize and make the work so much easier. So today, for example, I'm studying some rhythms of Minas Gerais, and they are much easier because they start of the same manner they end. But I'm feeling myself more prepared because of this knowledge. I hope this knowledge can help you in the process of understand Brazilian rhythm. It's interesting to transcribe and sometimes to play some instruments doing the similar things. There was one interesting book that I've read of a researcher of Brazilian music and musician called Climério. I think it's Climério dos Santos. I'm sorry, Climério, if I mistook your name. But he did one interesting job when he transcribed the rhythms of maracatu in his first book, that he learned to play in that rhythm in the instrument, and he showed the musicians, asking if he was right, and the musicians corrected him, and he was capable of doing a better transcription because of that. Another thing I forgot that can create some confusions in rhythm is, for example, in caboclinho, that it's a rhythm that changes the tempo. Caboclinho becomes true in one beat and ends faster. So sometimes the it's not the measure that's being changed, but also the tempo. So I'm telling you this stuff because it sometimes it can save you in your research. So that's I'm talking this because I would like to resolve a lot of problems in just one video. Problems that I had during many years that can be solved in just one live talking about rhythm. That is an interesting question that I've found in my classes, that and how is the transformation of a rhythm in a 4/4 rhythm, like for example a frevo, it's a style in 4/4, and how do I transform in a frevo of 3/4, or like Milton Nascimento has done in a song Cravo e Canela, I think it's Cravo e Canela. That is a samba in 3/4. Samba originally is in 2/4, but he has done in 3/4, and there is no rule. There is not a right rule to transform a rhythm. You have to maintain its characteristics, but you can choose what characteristics you want to maintain. So when you change the measure to create some modern rhythmic in different Brazilian styles, you are free to adapt this style to that measure, that new measure. So that's it. I hope I didn't talk properly about my journey, but I talked about all the difficulties I have, and this, I think it's the more important information of this life. Alright? So I invite you to watch every day some content of Brazilian music, all relate with Brazilian music, improvisation, and playing in an authentic way. Alright, I'm trying now today to give you resources of a rhythm resource to understand better the Brazilian rhythm. Alright, but we talk here about melody, we talk about improvisation, scales, we talk about the authors of music, we talk about the songs that are good reference to study Brazilian music. We talk about how to study. It's a lot of subjects related with playing the Brazilian music in an authentic way. If you want to know more, it's just follow me. I am here in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube every day doing some lives and some quick tips. Alright, I hope you have enjoyed. I'm happy to have you as my audience, and see you tomorrow for more Brazilian accent improvisation. Bye bye, I'm Luciano Ruas. Bye.